What up, homie? How you doing?
Good, good. How about you?
Good. You at fight week, yeah?
Yeah, just got in a little while ago. San Diego,
Oh, nice. Nice
California.
town.
Beautiful. They have a beautiful view. It's right on the water. I mean, can't beat
Can't beat it. It's much better than quarantine in.
it. You know what, man? I just had this discussion with my guys, bro. People could talk all the shit they want, but that place wasn't bad for what it was. It really wasn't.
I personally, I mean, I'm just, the cockroaches sucked, right? I personally, looking back at it, really liked, just so all the listeners can understand, for all through COVID, for 2 years when we fought, right? You were taken to Vegas. There was a
Yep.
Marriott courtyard, and we were there. You got locked in the courtyard, right? There was no
Yep.
leaving. There was no nothing. I think for the first 2 months they let you leave, but like half the fights fell off because people went out and got COVID. So
Yep.
they said full lockdown.
Yep.
I liked it personally because the team bonded. I felt like the team
Yep.
really, really bonded. There was no bullshit. Nobody went out drinking. Nobody came home late. It was solely focused on fighting. What did you think?
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I think the biggest thing is like right now, like you're in a normal hotel where there's like two beds. There's not really like a living room area, but with
Mhm.
the residents in, there's or the quarantine in, there's like a living space. There's like bedroom, living area, bedroom, and then the living area and the kitchen is combined as one, so everybody can kind of come in together and hang out. You really
Yep.
don't have that here, and there's not enough room for a bunch of people to hang out. It's so. I agree with you 100%. Like, it was, if you wanted to go check your weight, it was literally a 20-second walk. Here, like last
Right.
week, we were at Resort World. That place is massive. It was genuinely a 15-20 minute walk
Whoa,
to
so
check
they
your
don't
weight.
have quarantine in anymore. There's no more
Nope.
residents in.
No,
Oh, I
it's
thought
done.
they
Residence
bought
in is
that
done.
place.
No, it's completely done. It has been for like a month now. It's completely
Oh,
done. It's back to open to the public. Matter of fact, I do a show. It's called UFC Breakdown. And
okay.
they booked me at Residence Inn to stay there, and I was like, no, listen, next time, guys, like you got to put me somewhere else, anywhere else but this place, anywhere else in the world but this place.
Yeah. So
So,
back to normal.
yep, back to normal. And it sucks, dude, because the fighters got to book an extra room now, so it's more
Right.
expenses for them out of their pocket. Like, dude, this is the extra room at this place right here in San Diego is $1,500 for the whole week.
So I got into this discussion, and we talk about fighter pay and all that stuff. Like, people don't understand that, like $1,500 plus two more plane tickets. If you're a minimum contract, if you're at 10-10 and you lose,
Yep.
right, which is like 50% of the time you lose, right? If you look at stats, just the odds of things, like you're walking away with like $3,000 after
Dude,
paying everything.
yeah, like if you're at 10-10, if you think about it, I mean, manager is going to be anywhere from 10 to 20%.
Yep.
Coach is going to be 10% typically, depending on who you're with, and then we're not even talking about taxes. Taxes are going to bust probably 30%, 20%, depending on how much you make. Dude, it's a lot, man. And like, we're not even talking about $1,500. That's 15%. That's a 15% of your purse if you're only making 10 grand. That's a lot
It's
for
a
a flight.
lot.
I mean, you could. I mean, I'm sure you and I both did this where we walked away losing money. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like yeah, I did that numerous times. I'm sure you did as well.
Yes. A bunch.
Yeah,
There
the majority
was,
of my career.
I think I was talking to somebody. I had therapy today, and I was talking to my therapist, and I was like, "Yeah, I think I probably had like 10 grand to my name when I retired from fighting, maybe 30.
Yeah,
Somewhere in there." So yeah, sucked.
it's rough, man. There's a lot of sacrifice that goes into this. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. In a lot of ways. So what got you into this? You and I met, I think backstage when Joey B fought Henry Cejudo. We were all in that locker room together. That's the first time I think I
Yep.
met you.
Yep.
What got you into fighting in martial arts just in general?
Well, there's kind of like two answers. There's the logistical answer where like just a friend invited me, blah blah. That's not really interesting. But then there's like the mentality behind it, which for me, I think it's growing up, I was really small. Like in high school, like I graduated high school at 5'5" and like 155 pounds. I'm 6'2" now, so like that gives you a frame of reference of
Sure.
where I was. But I think just like the primitive end of the road, right? Like it's fighting is always going to be the primitive end of the line. So like if you and I get into an argument, it's like, hey man, like I'm faster than you, I'm stronger than you, my car's nicer than yours, I lift more weights than you, I have more money, whatever, blah 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 blah. All that stops at I can beat you up. That's the primitive end of the road, right? Like I can beat you up. That's the trump card. And I think there's something, I don't know, you know what I mean? I don't know. I think just getting picked on, and I was small, and I think there's something to that. Like, I had a rough upbringing, so I think there was something to that to me. You know what I mean? It's like, that was the card I could always pull out, that no matter what, I could pull that out and be like, okay, I win. I like that.
When did you start? When did you start martial arts?
I was 20. I was 20 years old. I started in MMA. I didn't start in jiu-jitsu or kickboxing. I started as an MMA fighter at 20 years old, 36 now. So I got about 16 years in.
Okay. So where with who?
Dude, it's a small, like, that's the things, like, dude, when I started, man, it wasn't even a thing really. It was just like guys getting together and fighting. Like, we fought every day. You know what I mean? Like, there was no sparring. Like, it wasn't sparring. It wasn't jiu-jitsu. It wasn't wrestling. It wasn't kickboxing. It was like, we just got in a cage and fought each other every day. Like, that's what we did. Like, that was the only way we knew how. And to be honest, like, the first years of my career had been like that. I still to this day have never had a jiu-jitsu coach. Like, I have the guy that's giving me my belt, but I haven't trained with him a ton. I mean, I've trained with him plenty, but not like I haven't been with him for years or anything like that. I didn't ever train like under him directly, and I still to this day have never had anybody. I taught myself jiu-jitsu off YouTube for the most part.
Are you serious?
And of course yeah. And then for the most part, like, I would train with this person, pick something up, train with this person, pick something up. Like, I've never had like a coach. And then, like, I've had 2 striking coaches my whole career, and it for sure helped a lot, but like, not half of it wasn't even that formal. You know what I mean? It's just like us getting together and messing around. But it really is just, in where I live, it's just now starting to get kind of like formalized over the last like 6, 7, 8 years. And that's, not to toot my own horn, but that's predominantly because of me. You know what I mean? Like, hey, we're not doing this right. Like, everybody else, like, you go to California, you go to Florida, these guys are doing different shit than us, and they're doing a lot better than us. So let's start doing what they're doing. And we just had kind of change how it was going.
When you said you had 2 striking coaches, it was Mark Montoya and who else?
A guy named Austin Ford. He still coaches at my gym today.
Okay, so he's coaching with you.
Yeah, he coaches with me now. So we didn't work together for quite some time, and then we ended up getting back together. He coaches striking at my gym now. Obviously helps me.
Yeah. We got to spend some time together on The Ultimate Fighter, right?
Yeah.
The comeback season. And what was the experience of fighting like for you, both before that, before The Ultimate Fighter, and then when you came back again to the UFC with The Ultimate Fighter, and then post Ultimate Fighter? So let's start with the pre-Ultimate Fighter career.
Yeah, I was already in the UFC when I went on that show. So that
Right.
was cool. I was the only one that was like that. But like, I was getting listen, man, like, I understand how this works. I've been in the business a long time, and I understand how things work. And regardless if anybody wants to admit it or not, there's a lot of politics that go into this game on matchups, how you're treated. It's an unwritten rule, but it's a real thing. And dude, if you look at my first few fights in the UFC, like, I fought Stout on 16 days notice, and then I fought Bobby Green, and then I fought Masvidal early. I fought Jamie Varner when he was on a hot streak. I fought some really good guys, and I was like, dude, why do I keep getting all these hammers? So I started taking note. All these guys coming off that show were getting favorable matchups because the UFC is pumping millions of dollars into them, and they want them to do good. So I was like, dude, this may sound crazy, but I'm gonna do this show. Like, I'm gonna ask them to do this show, and if I do well, I think they're gonna take care of me. And it definitely helped my publicity as far as that goes. Like, I'm not big on that. That's not a huge deal to me, but it is a real thing. Like, they do look at that, and you've been in this long enough to know that it may not be the factor, but it's for sure a factor,
You get better matchups.
No doubt. And if they're pumping millions of dollars into you on the show and stuff, they want you to do well. So, and I feel like after that show, things smoothed out for me. I still had some tough fights or whatever, but it was more of a business approach after that. You know what I mean? Like, it was just different. My approach to the game was much different after that show. And I learned a shit ton on that show, man. Like, I feel like we had such a good team of coaches, and I learned so much on that show, man. Like, about myself, about MMA techniques, other people. And that, dude, it's hard. It is hard to be on that show, and people don't understand it, man. But it is really, really difficult.
I hated it. I hated it as a contestant when I was on it. I didn't really like it too much as a coach because it's so monotonous, right? It's just
Yeah.
so you lose your fucking mind,
Yeah.
especially more so as a contestant, right? Like I thought that was the hardest part, was just you are so stuck in that
Yep.
fucking house that like, and you get tired of seeing each other. Like I'm sure you
Yep.
got tired of seeing all of us. You're like, God, again?
Yeah, it's well, just like, dude, like you can't have your own time. You can't have any
Mm-hmm.
time to yourself. You can't
Nope.
you can't do the things. Like this is how I explain it. It's like basically they take the triangle of fighting, like the pyramid of fighting, and what is low priority to high priority, and they take it and they flip it upside down. Like normally, like if you and I are fighting, I know what weight we're fighting at, I know who I'm fighting at, I know what date we're fighting on. But they flip that down. I don't know who I'm fighting, and I don't know when I'm fighting. So because I don't know when I'm fighting, I can't adjust my weight accordingly. Like you have to do it is one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. And it's just being in there. I learned a lot about myself. Like you have to be mentally tough to be in that house for 6 weeks with those guys. It's and it has nothing to do with the other individuals. It's just being locked in anyhow. It's essentially prison, man. Like you go work out for a little bit, like,
It's
and
worse than prison.
it's a glorified prison, honestly.
But the only thing that I thought that was worse than prison about it is there's no music. You can't read anything.
Yep.
There's no TV. At least you have that shit in prison.
Yeah.
Like you are
Yeah.
really locked away here.
You really are. It's tough, man. It is really, really tough. And that stuff matters, man. It really is difficult mentally, especially like for me, like some of these guys didn't have anything, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
they're on their own, and they didn't make any money. They were just, that's great for them. They're getting paid to be there, passing the time. But like I had a family,
Mm-hmm.
married, I had businesses at home, like, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's going on. You know what I mean? Like, for all I know, my business I could be out of business, have no idea. You know what I mean? Like I don't know shit of what's going on. And that was, that's hard, especially for me. I'm a control freak. So like I like to be in control of everything. So that made it difficult too.
That's a very interesting point, what you just said, because that's how, I mean, I when I first came off the show, I felt the very same way. Like if you slept in your mom's basement, you loved the show
Yeah.
because they brought you whatever food you wanted.
Yep.
It was a nice house. There was a pool,
Yep.
whatever. You hang out. All you do is hang out with your homies and train anyway. So, okay, these are different homies, right? If you had a life, it
Yep.
sucks.
It
That's
sucks,
that's
dude.
the delineator. Yep, it
It
sucks.
sucks, man. It sucks. It's the worst. It's hard, man. That's the only thing I can say is it's very difficult to. And I see some of those guys on the show, man, and it's so crazy because I follow most of them, if not all
Mm-hmm.
of them. And like some of the guys have done really well, and some of them haven't. And I don't even mean in fighting. I just mean in life. Like, dude, like some of the guys that should have done really well are not doing good now, and some of the guys that nobody thought would do well are doing great now. It's so crazy how it works.
So this is what I said I wanted to talk to you about as well, right? Because um, fighting, when I say rarely works out, okay, fighting rarely works out for all of us in the sense of you fight, you have a career for a decade or however long, and then what? Because you're not a
Yeah.
champion. I'm not a champion. 99.9% of us that fight won't be a champion. And we also won't have made enough money to just be done, right? Like,
Yep.
I'm assuming, I know we talked offline, so I know that's your case, right? Like,
Definitely.
you did not make enough money. How did you do this? How did you make this transition? I know you just formally retired last week,
Yep.
but you hadn't fought in a while. But you've been asked that question a lot of what were you doing next? When did you like this? What was that process like for you of leaving fighting, opening the school, doing both a little bit, kind of, and then finally just saying,
Yep.
you know what, I'm just going to coach?
I opened the gym in 2013. So I have been
Before the
running a
fight.
business. So I worked at the gym. I was the number one guy at the gym. I was signing people up. I was the only employee at the gym. And that opened in 2012. I made my UFC debut in June of 2013, double bonus. And I bought the gym from the owner, and I've been running the gym since 2013. So I've always had that. But I've never really felt like a sense of security from being in the UFC. Like I get people, the number one question I get asked all the time is, when did you quit working? I said, I don't know what you guys are doing, but I work fucking 80 hours a week, man. I don't know what none of y'all are doing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how you guys can not work. Like, dude, I work more than anybody. You can ask any of my guys, like the output I'm doing is insane for, you know, still competing at the time. So we did that. And then I just like, I always looked at the gym paid my bills. And that's a recommendation that I have for these guys is you're doing something to pay your bills, right? Before you get in the UFC, like you're surviving somehow. And I think you should stay doing that until you start to get into like your second contract. You know what I mean? Where you can make, if you go 2-1, you're going to make $100,000, right? Like if you make 20 and 20 or 25 and 25 and you go 2-1 that year, right? If you make 25 and 25, that's, I mean, you win twice, that's 100 grand, right? Like that's 100 grand. Or even 20 and 20, you win twice, that's 40, 80, and then you lose, that's 100 grand, right? Like that is when you can start to maybe start to look at changing your lifestyle a little bit and start to stop working and just fight full time. I would never ever do that ever, man. Like I do not like somebody else controlling the well-being of my family. I'm not going to do it. I can't count on anybody else, man. You know this, like, dude, if you want something done, you got to do it yourself. Like I'm not going to count on somebody else. So I've been grinding. I've been investing pretty much all my fight purse money from then. My gym paid for my bills and my lifestyle. And it wasn't always good. You know what I mean? Like it does way better now than it did before. But I think that I just stayed within my means with the gym, and then all my fight money went into investing. So, you know, I started, you know, I've gotten into some businesses, bought a couple rentals here and there. And then whenever I was 30 years old, one day I woke up and I genuinely had like a panic attack, or I don't know what you want to call it. I don't want to like be over dramatic, but like it just hit me. I was like, dude, you're 30 years old and you don't have shit. Like, how are you going to, like, we talk about this, like, oh, I'm going to retire, but how are you going to retire? I don't have a 401k. I don't have an asset to my name. I don't have shit. Like, I don't have anything. I own the house I live in, but it's like, dude, how are you going to live this life that we talk about? You're 30 years old. When, you know what I mean? Like, so I started researching wealth, banking, lending, money, business. I just went into an insane rabbit hole, and still to this day, every morning I get up, I watch YouTube, I listen to podcasts, I self-educate myself, because I know so many people, and I'm sure you can attest to this. I know so many people that are educated that don't know shit about banking, lending, money, how money works, how banking works, how lending works, how like what the fuck inflation even is, how it applies to you. Like these things that everybody should know. They don't have a fucking clue how they work. And it's like, how do you not know this? You went to college for 8 years and you don't fucking know how inflation affects you. Like
the only thing college was good for me for was it's the place where I met Amal, who's my jiu-jitsu teacher and now business partner. Like if I didn't go to Boulder, I wouldn't have met him outside and then I wouldn't have met my wife and have my kids and yada, yada. But outside of that, like, that's it. Like like nothing else, because I didn't want to do it. Waste
of time.
It depends. It is,
in my opinion.
To be a doctor or a lawyer, okay, go ahead. An engineer, great. 100%. But outside of those things, what the fuck are you? What the fuck are you doing? A businessman, dude. I don't. We have successful businesses. I didn't take one business course, not fucking one.
I'm 5 credits shy of a degree, bro. 5 credits shy. I will not go back. I will not go back. I will, like, I'm not, like, if you're on one side of being like having a college degree and not, I'm on the side of not having a college degree. I want to speak for the people. You don't need that shit. You don't need it. You don't. It's a waste of time. Like, think about a doctor, bro. Think about, to be a doctor, you need 8 years of school. 4 of those are general education. They don't have fucking nothing to do with what you're going for. Like, it has nothing to do with it. You don't even get into like clinicals and shit like that until you're deep into the game. You know what I mean? Like, it makes no sense. It's a money grab, bro.
It's a racket. Yeah.
Fucking money grab, man. And there's so many of those. There's so many of those in America.
Even college sports, right? Even college sports is, dude, that's the worst of them all.
The worst
of them all, because they actually make millions off of these kids. Millions for nothing.
And now, at least now they're paying them. At least now
there's only the name and likeness. They're not paying them. You can profit off your name and likeness. For sure.
It's at least a step. It's at least a step.
For sure. You can at least make some money, for sure.
Yeah, so I started educating myself on that, and I just dove down a rabbit hole, man, and I started talking with people that I respected and how they were doing things, and for the life of me, I can't fathom how some of the people that are highly educated don't know this stuff.
It's amazing.
It really is.
It's amazing.
It really is.
And you can see the issues that those people have, right? That's how you stay in that's how you stay paycheck to paycheck. You make more money, you spend more money. And that's what I would say is people's biggest problem, right? Is they make more, they spend more, they make more, they spend more. And then I mean, who cares how much you make, because you don't have any more money. You have more things.
It's discipline. People aren't disciplined in any aspects of their life. Like, and how you do anything is how you do everything. Like the same people that can't, and that's another thing. It's like, we're just miseducated too. We talk about saving money. Got to save your money. Got to save it. No, you don't save your money. Saving your money. If you're saving your money, you're losing it because of the inflation, right? Like you're losing money. Now you have to invest, save to invest maybe, but like you have to invest in appreciating assets or you're going to lose money. If you have money in a savings account right now, it is losing a minimum of 9%. 9%.
You can be, like you said, you can be saving to then later invest.
But
saving only for the sake of saving and doing nothing else with it, yes, you lose money for sure.
Losing money, no doubt.
It's funny what you said. I made my kid, last week he sent it to me. I made him read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and he had to write a report on it for me. So I was really proud of his report that he wrote, So and he's only 12, so he got it done. And
that's great, man.
Yeah. Just planting that idea in our children's heads, right? Is that you work for you. You don't go work for somebody else. And that, for me, that was my biggest problem with the UFC, is I was dependent on them, right?
Yep.
I was dependent on them and how they perceived me and approved or didn't approve. And then you just never knew. You could be Dana's best friend one day, and then the next day, if you're not making Dana money, I mean, Dana does not give a fuck about you. He'll be nice to you. He'll say hello to you. He still comes up and says hello to my kids when he see you, right? But he don't give a fuck.
Yeah, like I'm shit. You got closer than I did. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're cool. Like, I can text him or whatever, but I never even got to the point where he could give a fuck about me. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't want to listen. I'm not gonna trash them, the UFC or anything like that, because they've given me a platform to be able to expand. Because without them, I don't know what I'd be doing. You know what I mean? Like, they gave me some chunks of money. And I will say this too, man. They get a bad rap for this stuff. I don't want to go into like fighter pay, but we can, I guess. But it's just, dude, if they paid more, if they had this pension program, if they had all this shit that people baptize them for on a regular basis, these fucking guys wouldn't want it anyway. Like a union. That's the one thing I hear about. Like, oh, we need a union. You motherfuckers know it costs money to be in a union, right? Like that's what I'm saying. These guys aren't educated in what it takes to form a union, what it takes to have a pension. To, like, if you're doing a 401k, the UFC should have a 401k. They're gonna match the $0 fucking dollars that you put into it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, these guys don't know. You know what I mean? They just hear this shit and then they regurgitate it and vomit it out, and it makes no sense. Like you have to be educated on what the fuck this stuff even means. And 95% of the people in UFC aren't, and 95% might be a conservative number.
Yeah, it's more than 95.
98.
I am probably, even with the decrease in what our pay would be as fighters would have been, I'm pro union. I would put into my own 401k. I'd let them take all the bonus and put it in there, right? Whatever it was. But you have to understand, like, it's not just like, oh man, this is great for me. Like, everything has a cost. So
yes.
What you're now coaching, right? What was the decision to make you retire? Like, why did you announce that last Monday?
I've been retired for a long time. I just didn't tell anybody. Ariel kind of put me on the spot, and he said something to me that just pulled it out of me, and he was so right, man. He said something along the lines like, I feel like you're just like hanging on to like a last string, like I just won't let it go. And he was right. Like I had no intentions of fighting again. I've been telling people I've done for like the last 2 years, year and a half at least, or whatever it is, And dude, I haven't had a training camp for a fight since 2018. All the stuff I've been doing short notice, like I haven't even, I haven't been in it in a long time. I still train every day. Don't get it confused. I still train hard. I'm with my team every day. I train hard. Like I still got it. I'm good. Like But as far as like being in it mentally of like, hey, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this and fighting, as I haven't been there for quite some time. And he's kind of put me on the spot. He's like, I feel like kind of just hanging on to it. I was like, dude, you're right. Fuck it, I'm done. You know what I mean? Like, fuck it. You're 100% right.
I'm reading John Wooden's book, or I'm listening to one of John Wooden's book, and he said that's how he retired too. He was
Really?
walking. He said he was walking off the court after a game, and he was annoyed by the questions the press was asking him, and he was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So then he walked into the locker room and he goes, guys, tomorrow night's national champ or Monday night's national championship game will be the last game I ever coach. He didn't tell anybody. His wife didn't know. Nobody knew, right?
I didn't tell anybody either.
Yeah.
I didn't plan it. And everybody's like, why didn't you tell me? I'm like, bro, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know either.
That's what his wife said. She's like, why didn't you tell me? He's like, I didn't know. I didn't know until I was in that press conference, not wanting to do it. And he's like, I've never been in a press conference, not wanting to do it before. And that was his sign.
I got to check that. What's the book called?
I think it's called Wooden. It's a really good book. It's got these short little excerpts on it. Hold on, I'll tell you right now. It's called Wooden. Are you a failure if you do your best? You know, I mean, I love his definition of success. His definition, how he looks at success is amazing, in my opinion. He looks at it as being self-satisfied with the knowledge that you worked as hard as you possibly could have.
I can
that's how he's like, look, when he talks about it, it's very interesting how he says when they won, he just says, we just outscored them. He goes, that doesn't mean we were successful. And when we lost, they just outscored us. And that doesn't mean I was successful, because, you know, it's all self-focused. And I was like, damn, okay. You know, so it's a very, because like I said, you and I both coach athletes now.
Yeah.
Most likely none of them will be champions.
100%. I tell that all the time. People ask me all the time, I'm trying to be a champion. Yeah, no, I get it. But let's do this just in case you're not.
Right. Look, that's the goal. I agree with you. Yeah. That's the goal.
Yeah.
But let's be real as well. It's a hard thing, you know, because when I was fighting, there's no way you could have told me. Well, you could have told me, but you're shooting for the championship until you realize that it's not possible. You know, dude,
I got to be honest with you, man. I've never, this is an unpopular opinion of mine. I've never cared about being a champion. Not one time, you can't find an interview of me saying that I wanted to be a world champion. I never give a shit. I don't know why. I can't tell you why. I can only be honest with you. And honestly, I never cared about winning a world title. I just didn't.
What'd you care about?
Making money.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong. I love the game. I love fighting.
Sure.
But I never cared about, dude, it's never been about being a world champion for me. It's always been about being able to create a life better than what I was brought up in. You know what I mean? And fighting was just the easiest way for me to do that.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've never cared.
Do you like fighting?
Did I or do I?
Did you?
Yeah. Oh, I loved it. Yeah, I did it one time. I was game as fuck. You know what I mean? Like at one time I loved it. I fought every weekend. You know, dude, as an amateur, I fought twice in one night, multiple times, you know, 3 times in 3 days. I even as a pro, I did some tournaments twice in one night, 3 times in 3 days. Like I fought any chance I could. I would. Half my pro fights are, you know, before the UFC were showing up to a venue and somebody falling out and me saying, I'll do it. You know, that was. Got it. But I loved it. And even in the UFC, I loved it, man. I did. I've always loved it until, you know, I still love it. It's just, I don't like, dude, it has to come to an end at some point, right? Mm-hmm. Like I'm 36 and like my body's starting to break down a little bit, but I've always loved it. I can't tell you why. It's never been important to me. You know, I've never set up in the middle of the night and been like, yeah, I'm gonna be a world champion one day. It's just never been important to me.
Yeah. How about now as a coach? How do you approach coaching?
I want to coach a world champion.
Yeah.
Yep. And did.
Yeah. How do you approach it? Like what's your methodology?
In what sense? Like a technical sense or just overall?
Just overall, like how do you approach the game? You know, what have you learned about the game that you give to the athletes?
I think from a technical standpoint, I think working in concept rather than technique is better, because I feel like it gives the athlete creative freedom. Don't get me wrong, there are times for technique and such. I think it's important to organize your game, have set primary, secondaries, and then anything after that. Like in this position, this is my primary, this position my secondary, and then chain off those things. My thought, like the difference is like on a white belt, it looks like chicken pox. It's random dots. Blue belts will start to connect dots. Purple belts will start to web off those dots, 3 options off the dots. Brown belts will have options off the options, and a black belt does what I call recycle, where you have options off the options, and then you recycle back to the beginning and do it again. So I think your game needs to be very organized. And then the 2 biggest things I preach are fight IQ and organizing your game, making good decisions. One that comes off the top of my head is, for example, you're in side mount, somebody grabs an underhook on you, start to turn into you. A lot of people circle to front headlock. Front headlock is an extremely known position. Wrestlers have more than 10,000 repetitions of getting out of front headlock. Jiu-jitsu guys, the same thing. But if you circle towards the hips and you get back to butterfly guard or half guard, it's a much more technical position to where the bottom guy has to actually know how to get up rather than the athlete out. There's technical positions and athletic positions. If you have an athlete, you want to make it technical. If you have a technical guy, make it athletic. And I think it's important to work off of each one of those. Outside of fighting, I think it's important to not have a plan B, but to have a branch of plan A of, hey, this is what we're doing with fighting, but we're also smart outside of this. We're businessmen or women, and we're setting ourselves up for the future, regardless of what happens with fighting. We understand that one day we may or may not be a world champion. We're still going to make money, but this is here also. So we're running 2 separate businesses, the fighting business and then the investing business. So, yeah, man, I feel like I'm just vomiting at this point.
No, that was good. Look, you and I approached the game very similarly, especially how you in the technical or the tactical sense of side control on top. Yeah, don't go to the front headlock. It's and it's too slippery. I don't even like to pass the guard. I want you to mount.
Half guard, 3/4 mount.
Yep, mount was great. Mount was phenomenal. That's great. I'll take mount. But side control, I feel like side control, like you are using your hands to hold the person.
Yep.
And athletes get out of that. The second you let go a little bit and the sweat, it's a very interesting thing. I don't know if you know this, but I'm gonna bring it up. Miranda, a fighter that I coach, Miranda, she came out, she was thinking about coming to Glory. And this, and I don't know if she told you this or not. This was no knock on you. This is just how I approach it, because I had let go of Elevation Fight Team at that time. I had said no more. I was like, you guys got to go train somewhere else. And I only wanted my couple people because the team was too much how it was set up. Because, like with for example, your school, you are the head coach.
Yeah.
Right. You are the head coach. You coach the guys. The way we had it set up was this vagabondy coaching structure. I was technically the head coach for a while, but I wasn't the head coach. I didn't coach every guy,
Yeah.
So that created problems in and of itself. She was going out and she loves home,
Yeah.
And I don't know if she told you this or not. And she was like, she called me and goes, what do you think about working with James? And I was like, look, James is a great coach. He's a great coach, knows exactly what he's doing. And I totally understand that you would move home if you wanted to move home and it worked out. But I have no interest in not being the head coach of an athlete,
Yeah, no.
How do you feel?
I don't know. That I don't really know her that well. You know what I mean?
No, I'm just saying in general. In general, are you interested?
Oh, just in general?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Not really. Not really. I don't want to say that I don't do that, because there are exceptions to the rule. Always. I approach every athlete individually.
Yes.
And I feel like that some athletes, I feel like you have to be more strict on because they need it. Maybe they're younger, their experience isn't there. And then there's some athletes like the vets that you can kind of let run free a little bit if they're the right athlete. Like for example, like Moreno, I don't have to be all over him. I know that guy's a workhorse, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I know I am the head coach, but like I do like these other guys he has, they're very involved and they're very knowledgeable in what they do. And I don't want to step on that. At the end of the day, I like to be the guy that makes the final call. And there's a lot of pressure with that. And I'm good with it. I want to own that pressure. I want to, I'm 100% fine with that. And I don't like most of the time I think I can do it better, and I can most of the time. I guess, as far as like, I think it would depend on who. I think it would depend on who, because I have done it before and we've had success. Like TJ Brown. Like and that's just, I mean, we were talking about, we say head coach, like, what does that mean? Like, what's that? What, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's just a label.
What
like,
you just said, you're the decision maker at the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, on what though? You know what I mean? Like when we're in there, like I don't feel like I'm over these guys. I feel like I instead of saying head coach, I just call it like we coach them together. You know what I mean? Like I guess I don't look at it like that. Like I'm never gonna tell.
But you've had a situation. Have you ever had a situation in the corner where you are disagreeing?
I'm trying to think. Yeah, yes, I have. And
so
I was not the head. I was not the head coach.
So then you have to be quiet. And talk about it after.
There was a now that you're saying this, like to where I wasn't on. So okay, I'm gonna tell you the scenario. I wasn't on even playing field with these other guys that come train with me, and then like TJ Brown, Rolly Delgado coaches. You know Rolly, I'm sure, right?
I was on the Ultimate Fighter with him. Yeah,
exactly. Yes. So we coach TJ together. I don't know who he fucking calls his head coach or whatever. Like, I don't care. We coach them together. We do a really good job. We bounce it off. It's no problem. We've never had any issues ever. All good. I'm going to give you a scenario. I'm not going to say who it was, but I was coaching. I wasn't even really coaching a guy. I helped coach him at one point. He had another coach. I was in town. They asked me to be in the corner. So I go in the corner. My guy, he's not my guy. The guy I was cornering gets dropped bad. Like, knocked the fuck out bad. Gets back up, wrestles, gets the takedown, is in top side mount. And the guy next to me is saying, stand up. I literally grabbed my leg. I said, you want this motherfucker to stand up right now? He's half unconscious. Like, what do you, he's stand up. And then after that, I was like, I can't do this anymore. You either got to be on my team or you're not.
Right.
But I don't agree with that coaching philosophy. So like somebody that like Rolly, like we know each other. Like if we're on the ground, bro, I'll like do your thing, Rolly. You know what the fuck you're talking about. You know what I mean? But now if we start talking about striking or clinch or whatever, like that's not his forte. You know what I mean? So man, it just depends on who it is and what, I don't know. I've never really had any, to answer your question, if I had a gun to my head right now, I got to answer it. The answer is no. I do not want to not be the head coach, but are there exceptions to the rule? Yes.
Yeah. Look, never give your back except when you have to. Right. Yeah.
I'm with it.
Yeah. So there's never a hard no to anything.
Yeah.
What is it that you're looking for? Like with your life, you're coaching right now, you have some investments going on. We've talked a little bit about how you help your guys. One of the things I like to have my guys look at is like, what do you want your life to look like in 5 years? So that we can set a plan to it, because it's important. So where are you going now that you're, officially not fighting, right? You're all, even though, we know 2 years ago it stopped, you're all in coaching. You have a family, you take care of your sister, things like that. Where are you going?
Man, I don't, I'm a planner. I make yearly goals, but if you ask me what I want out of all this, I don't know the answer. I can tell you what I like about it. I can tell you that there's these guys, these fighters. I have a few of them in here with me right now, but Jeff, shut up. There's these guys, when they start, man, a lot of these guys don't come from shit. You know what I mean? They don't come from anything. And so for somebody that doesn't come from anything to elect somebody as their person to not only guide them through fighting, the most important thing that they have in their life, but sometimes even life, financial, whatever it may be, I don't take that lightly. And as well as I do that, like I would say this, there's typically like I don't know a better word for it, but an intimate moment, like after a fight, like 30 seconds to a minute after a fight, win or lose, there's like this very raw, real moment of true, genuine emotion. They can't hide the persona's not there anymore. The facade, all that bullshit's gone for 30 seconds to a minute or however long it takes them to snap out of it. But it's real, it's raw, and you can see deep inside that person's soul. You can the whole book is there open for you to tell all about that person. And good or bad, right? Like it's win or lose. You can see into that person rawness and realness. And I think you can see to a level that that person's significant other, brother, sister, mother, father that they have never seen before. So I've used this analogy before, on the Batman movie, The Dark Knight Rises, where he's got Joker in the interrogation room. Mm-hmm. He said, before I killed your friends, he's like, some of them, their final moments or whatever, some of them were cowards and blah, blah. You want to know which one of your friends were cowards? He says, essentially, I know your friends better than you do. And it's kind of the same thing, right? Like you get to see into a moment of these guys that maybe nobody else on the planet has ever seen. And I don't take that lightly. So for me to be a part of that is really special to me. I hold that near and dear to my heart, and I don't take it lightly at all.
Let me ask you a question on that topic. I think that's why there has to be a separation sometimes, like the week after the fight. You need to get away from each other because that moment happens and it's so intense. And I think both people get it, right? Like when yep. you're kind of raw too as the coach, right? When you're truly invested, you're both raw and you're both in that moment, and no one else can understand what this is like. And it's so intense. I believe that's why we sometimes need okay, I need a break, right? From the people that were there for that. And then we can come back, right? It's a couple days, But man, you explained that so well. I don't know how to explain it better. And that's what happens. It is some of the most intense times of your life.
It's real, man. It is an emotion that maybe nobody else in their life has ever seen, including their mother, father, significant other, wife, husband, whatever. Like, it's pretty crazy, man. It can get very deep. It can be very painful too. Like it can be very, very painful. And like I said, I don't take that lightly, man. That's a special part to me.
That's the risk we take, is that pain, right? Is that pain 100%. And having to sit in that pain with somebody else, because it for everyone, probably at some point, it's incredibly painful,
100%, man. Like, dude, I mean, you're not going to go through this sport without some type of pain. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that's just the reality of it. They don't call it the hurt game for no reason. It's the hurt game. And they don't just mean physically, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of pain and emotion, sacrifice, blood, sweat, tears, quite literally all of those things combined into one. And man, it's just, like I said, I don't, those moments, unless you've been a part of it, it's really difficult to vocalize. And I've spent a lot of time trying to vocalize it, and how I just did it is the best way that I can. But it's unlike anything that I've ever been a part of. You know what I mean? Like, this is gonna sound so weird, but like the only other just magnificent moment is like the birth of my kids. It's just so phenomenal. Like holy, it's just it leaves me kind of speechless. Does that make sense? Like
somebody else has to somebody else has to have experienced that, and then you can understand it, right? So I know what you're saying on both fronts here, right? Because I know for me it was really the birth of my I don't love my second child any less, but for me it was the first child.
Well, the first one, right? It's your first time experiencing
instant love. You've never experienced instant love before. Like you see it, you touch it, and you're like, oh my God, holy fuck. And you are fully in love with this thing within an instant. And you don't love your mom like that. You don't love your wife like that. You don't love anyone else like that ever. And fighting's the same thing. After a fight ends, it's it's a release, right? It's like a thank God this is over. And in that thank God this is over moment, real rawness comes out, and that's win or lose, right? Even when you lose, your first thought is relief that it's over.
But the bad side to this though is this exact feeling is why it's the hardest sport in the world to leave. Is because I've talked about this so much. It's the hardest sport in the world to leave because this feeling, this euphoric feeling, is quite literally a drug. it is a drug, and people, man, if you are fighting for a living, you more than likely had some type of tough upbringing. You come from a broken home, low income housing, something. You've had some kind of fucked up childhood. You know what I mean? 9 times out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a lot of the fighters self-identify with the result of their last fight. So if they won their last fight, they're a winner. And if they lose their last fight, they're a loser. And when you win, you get that euphoric rawness, realness. And I'm telling you, you know this, but I'm talking to the audience. There's no feeling. I've never done a illegal drug in my life, but I'm assuming that's why people get addicted to it. It's just a feeling unlike anything else. But when you lose, it is like the ultimate low. You feel like a loser, and all you want to do is feel like a winner again. And so you get into this vicious cycle, this rabbit hole of when you win, and when you win, it's like, oh, I'm a winner again. And then like fucking week goes by and it wears off. The drug wears off. You know what I mean? And this is how people die of overdose. Their drug wears off. They want more, and they want more, and they want more. And then the overdose for us as fighters is, we see this every week. It's like, God dang, man, that guy should have quit fighting a long time ago. You know what I mean? Like, he just doesn't have it anymore. And he's like, it's the overdose for us. Like, you should not be fighting anymore. You've tarnished your legacy. Your skills are saturated. Like, you are a shell of yourself. You're not who you used to be, and you should not be fighting. But somebody in your circle doesn't have the balls to tell you, or you're not fucking listening. One of the two.
Have you had that conversation?
1000%. And I will never not have that conversation with somebody. The second that I'm not able to have that conversation with somebody would be the day that I quit coaching.
Yeah, it's a tough conversation.
You have to have it. It's tough, but you have to have it.
I've lost some fighters over it, that disagree, and you're like, cool,
Yeah.
But I just can't not say it, right?
And listen, if you really believe that and you're a real friend, you'll say it. A real friend, a true friend, will tell you things that you might not want to hear, but they think it's the best thing for you. That's a real friend.
Right.
That's a real coach.
Yeah, that's somebody who's really in your corner.
Yep.
That's somebody who's
100%.
really
Now, whether you want to accept that or not is on you.
Right. Look, I've walked back out with people after I thought they should be done because they made a different decision, and I still say I'll be there for them. It's very hard to leave somebody, right? Like,
yeah, 100%.
Look, man, I tried to fire myself from both Drew and Miranda when the fight team split. I was like, guys, I don't think this is best for you. I think you should probably go with the rest, and they still get to train with the team. But like, I was like, and they said no. When they say no, I can't say, well, I'm firing myself. You got to go.
If you have that conversation with somebody and they fire back with you, like, dude, fuck no. Fuck you? Like, what are you talking about? That's the fire that I want to see.
That's all I want. Let's go.
Yeah. Let's go. Oh, that's okay. You talk me into it. Let's go again. I'm with it. That's what you want to see. Yeah. I'm with it. Yeah, dude. It's crazy, man. This game is nuts. It really is. It's crazy.
I like to say it's the best and the worst thing I ever did in my life.
No doubt.
Outside of kids are amazing and ridiculously difficult. And fighting is the best and worst thing. Like, I recommend it to nobody. You should not fight. That's how I feel about it. And
it's hard.
If you say, yes, I'm going to fight still. Okay, let's go.
It's hard, man. It's nobody, very few people make it through this game unscathed. You know what I mean? Like, there's the game of MMA, and then there's the actual fighting portion of MMA. Very few people make it through both of those alive. You know what I mean? Like, alive on the inside, at least. You know what I mean?
It gets to. Man, I always like to end the podcast with, these two questions. I know why you probably, like, the first one is why you come on the podcast, but sometimes I interview a lot of people that don't know me. So I'm like, why waste an hour of your time? But you and I know each other, so we have a relationship. Yeah. So yeah, we'll chat it up. But my second thing is, I believe everyone has, a unique thing about them, a power almost, that they go and give to the world, and then the world gives them something back in return. What do you think that power is of yours?
I think the unique thing that I bring to the world is, I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of fucked up in the head, and I don't know. Some people say it's a good thing. Some people think it's a bad thing. But like, I am addicted to the process. The end goal doesn't mean much to me. I'm addicted to the process of things. And to answer your question, I think the unique thing that I bring to the world is a relentless pursuit with passion, without burnout. And I don't want to act like it never happens, but I can push a pretty relenting pace. And I can do a lot, and I could keep going. And I think I'm a good example. I think I'm a good example for these younger guys that don't have shit and don't come from shit, on how to not come from shit and transform into something that turn these bads into goods. Like, I obsess over process. I obsess over doing more. I very rarely say no. So when you asked the first question, you didn't really dive into it. You said, "Why do you come on this podcast?" Well, the answer is I rarely say no. And then the second part of it was like, hey man, like, you're cool. We have very similar paths. I want to know about you. I want to, like, dude, I'm going to chop it up with one of the better guys in the game about MMA. Let's go. You know what I mean? Like, it's great. But the first thing that popped in my head was like, why not? I believe in omnipresence. Omnipresence is the ability to be everywhere at the same time. I believe in that. Like, there's things that I'm trying to do. And so the unique thing that I think I bring to the table is an example of relentless pressure, passion, and pace, to where these guys, you don't need to fucking take naps at noon. You don't need to fucking go on vacation every other month. Like, get your shit together. If you want all this stuff, you want to have this nice house, you want to drive this nice car, you want to have all this shit, this is the stuff you need to do. Now, are you willing to do it? And I think I'm a good example of that. And I think you are as well. And I think there's a lot of guys in this industry that are great examples of that. Now, whether the kids want to look at it or not, that's going to be on them. But I think there's plenty of examples of people that are out there to look at and to model themselves after. But I'll be honest with you, I think we talked about this earlier. I think 95, 97, 98% of them, they're not fucking looking for it. That's why, dude, all the information in the world's available, bro. It's just look at these guys. Who's doing what, man? Who's successful? Who, you know what I mean? Just look, just pay attention. You'll see it.
Copy.
And then copy, emulation, man. They don't want it. They don't want to do it. They want what you have, but they don't want to do what you do.
I really liked what you said, the pursuit. I always I love the chase of greatness. Like, I don't care where we're starting. You know, like I don't care. Like, I'm saying, okay, oh, you could do it. You want to do this? Come on. Like, come on. I'm down. Like, I'm always down. So I really like how you said that,
I tell my fighters this, it happens a lot where these guys will go through like a whole fight camp, and then maybe their fighter pulls out like last second, and then they lose their fight and they get frustrated and they're like, dude, I did all this for nothing. I said, no, you didn't do it for nothing. The progress is in the process. The progress is not in the result. It's in the process. The progress is in the process. You don't get better by winning or losing. You get better by the 6 or 8 or 10 weeks that you put into fucking training camp every day with intention. Right? Like, you're not checking boxes. You're walking in with intention every single day. And just because this guy pulled out doesn't mean you lost all that. That means you added more intention, 10 weeks of intentional training to prep for this one guy. So if this style of guy comes up again, you're ready to rock. You made a lot of progress in this. The progress is in the process, not in the result.
Kobe said, detach the work from the result.
Let's go.
You detach the work from the result. The work is the work. Hopefully, hopefully you get a good result. You don't get guaranteed a result, but that doesn't mean the work wasn't good.
100%. That's great. That's great.
All right, man. Tell everyone where they can reach out to you. Tell everyone where they can find you, hit you up, listen to your podcast, and all that stuff.
All the stuff I have is on my Instagram. I have a link tree in my bio. It has all my shit on it. You guys want to follow me or care to listen, all that stuff is in the link tree. Instagram is the best way to find me. D James Krause has all my stuff on it. Thank you for having me on, bro. I really appreciate it. This has been really cool. I really enjoyed this.
Hell yeah, it was a good talk. Guys, as always, James has his unique thing, his unique power that he brings to the world. And I have my unique power that I bring to the world. Don't go out and try to be James in the world, and don't go out and try to be me in the world. Please go out there and find your own power.